All right, all right. We are going to have a lot of fun this episode. All week I'm doing a series of breast cancer rock stars that are going to come here to help you better advocate for your health. And today's going to be really special because I've got a great guest coming up, and there's going to be a lot that we're going to discuss about overcoming during a pandemic and overcoming during crisis and how you can better prepare yourself to persevere in uncertain times like this. And joining me in just a few moments will be Dr. Monique Gary. She's a breast surgeon. I'll introduce her in a few, but I want you to know that we're talking about are 5 things that the world can learn from breast cancer patients during a pandemic. It is a topic that I absolutely love, and I think it is essential for you to start absorbing some of these lessons because look, let's face it, we never know when a crisis comes. A crisis comes a lot like a forest fire. You see it off in the distance. You have some awareness that it could potentially be coming. And before you know it, and before you can really react and prepare yourself, that forest fire has rushed and now you're in a sprint or a run. And there are tricks and tactics that survivors have discovered from going through a breast cancer experience and also their physicians see on a daily basis. And we're going to flesh that out. Now, this event is a partnership between a project that I started in 2011 when my stepmom was diagnosed with breast cancer called Breast Cancer Answers, co-founded by myself and Dr. Jay Harness, a past president of the American Society of Breast Surgeons. And we partnered up with the American Society of Breast Surgeon Foundation to partner on this. I'm on the board. And this is just something I'm super passionate about, how we can help patients and also the general population as we're going through a very difficult time. And to help you make sense of all of this, I'm joined right now by Dr. Monique Gary. She's a breast surgeon at Grandview Health in Sellersville, Pennsylvania. Dr. Gary, welcome to the show.
Hey, good afternoon. Thank you. Well, good morning. Thank you so very much. It's great to be here. It's good to see your face.
I know. I always enjoy our conversations. There's a great opportunity that we've been given today to help stabilize other people and to show them or share with them the lessons that breast cancer patients have learned from going through a crisis, and they can extrapolate that over to the crisis that we're going through right now. Now, today, to set up and provide a little bit of context, I understand you've already performed 2 surgeries, which means those are 2 patients with 2 families
Yeah.
that are going through a crisis, and you've got 2 more later on. So, part of your job, if I understand, is to be a stabilizing force during troubled times, and you get to do
True.
that every couple of minutes the next patient you interact with, right?
It's true. And even more than a stabilizer during these times, we have to somehow find a way without touching, wearing masks to connect and to connect on such a level that there's a level of trust and a level of comfort that says, you know what, this is somebody who can operate on me, can put me to sleep and do things to my body to remove a cancer while I'm sleeping without my family present, without my loved ones around, because we're not allowed to bring anyone, guests can't come into the hospital at this time. And so it's a huge leap of faith on the part of the patient to even get to the point of being okay to have a surgery. And so it's been really an interesting time. I always hug my patients. I hug everybody, and I can't hug anybody, and it's driving me nuts right now.
Right.
But we're able to connect. We connect it with our eyes, with our voices. We connect around music. I always play the music that patients like in the operating room, and sometimes we'll sing along. And everybody, the whole team becomes that patient's family for those few minutes or for those hours, and it makes a difference. And I think it's great because breast cancer patients don't always feel like they have power because something happened to them, something completely beyond their control. But there's some great life lessons that I think are really relevant to the rest of the world right now, as we're all experiencing something that is completely beyond our control that we never imagined would happen to us.
Yeah, as you were explaining this, I instantly went back to being the husband of a patient about to go into surgery. I almost started crying just thinking about it because I know how raw those emotions are. But I
Hmm.
also know that because my wife and I have gone through this, and I had a heart procedure in '08, the two of us are so much more stable emotionally going through this coronavirus that we just looked at each other and we're like, maybe we've trained for this,
In some
right?
ways,
And
it did,
it
absolutely.
sounds like we did without knowing it. Now it feels like a breast cancer patient's experience is crisis as they're going through, but wisdom when they come out the other side. First, before we talk about the patient and kind of drill into the five things, which the rest of the world, anybody watching,
Yep.
and even if you're a patient or a survivor, or maybe somebody who's just getting into the diagnosis stage and you've just detected a lump, this is going to be one of those rare interviews that you get to lead and share with your friends and family. Because as much as you might be going through a crisis, so are they being destabilized as you go through your patient experience or they're going through this coronavirus pandemic experience. Now, Dr. Gary, for your leader, like you carry the torch for patients and help guide them through one of life's most challenging moments. As a leader in crisis scenarios on a daily basis, what is the key to stabilizing somebody that is feeling unstable as they're going through a crisis?
Well, I think the first thing is you really have to ground yourself in whatever ways that you can. And grounding for some people takes the form of just breathing, just counting their breaths, breathing in and out, feeling their toes, understanding where their body is in relation to everything around them. And by shifting the focus of, oh gosh, I'm panicking, I'm treading water, I'm having an I'm here experience, when you
Yes.
can just focus on counting the breaths or just breathing in and breathing out, breathing in things that you want and believe and you hope, breathing out things that are stressful for you.
Yeah.
That's a great place to start for most people because you don't need anything. You don't have to buy anything. You don't need an app. You don't have to go anywhere. You can just stay, so you can say, stop. You know what? I'm feeling that feeling in my stomach and I have anxiety. And so I know it's like the motor is always running. And at some point when it starts revving up and that gas is going, you got to stop and say, what's this feeling in the pit of my stomach? And just stop and breathe, and so tapping into that and then trying to key in on what it is exactly that has you anxious, that has you upset, that's got you worried, and taking that apart sort of systematically or releasing it because you can't control it. That's probably the second part of it.
I love this. I got to watch my stepmom go through breast cancer. I say got to because
Well,
I
yeah,
got to learn from her. And then a year and a half later, it was Wendy.
yeah.
And you know Wendy, and you've spent time with
I
her. And
love Wendy. Hi,
yes,
Wendy.
Amelia, thank you. But there's like nothing not to love about Wendy. And for
Mhm.
those that don't know Wendy, she is a yoga therapist, but she's also a transformational coach
Yeah,
at the Four Seasons in Scottsdale, Arizona. So when I watched Wendy go through it, Wendy's daily meditation practice, her daily breathing exercises, and her ability to meditate and remove distractions from her
yeah.
life. When I watched all of that life training play out when she was going through breast cancer, it showed me a level of mastery. So, as you're talking about
Mhm.
breathing in love and letting go with your exhale of the things that don't serve you,
Yes.
I've watched it firsthand. That is huge. And I'm sure that provides a lot of comfort and stability to patients, especially ones that regularly practice it.
If you can make that connection, and I don't expect that right away from my patients, and many of my patients practice yoga for years, meditation, reiki, etc. And once you get that diagnosis, all that stuff kind of goes out the window for a little bit until you remember, okay, wait a minute, where am I, what do I know, what works for me? And so we kind of have this moment, my patients and I, where we say, okay, this is a fork in the road. This is an opportunity now to prioritize yourself. This is an opportunity for you to get rid of some toxic things and toxic thoughts, and for you to maybe take a different path. You can't control what happened to you, but you can control how you perceive it. You can find the blessing in this lesson. No matter how the outcome ends, we can go through this journey together because there's no way through it but through it. You got to go through the through.
Got to go
And
through.
so if we're going to go through it, we're going to go through one together.
Yep.
And so that means there's this relationship that forms, but also using every bit of everything every bit of wisdom your mother ever taught you, your grandmother, the things that your meditations have taught you and that you perhaps have taught even as teachers and instructors. This is a time for us to pull all those things in and to try to employ them, to eat the right things, to get good rest, and to take care of ourselves first and foremost. We got to put our own life mask, our own mask on, so to speak.
Yep. Wow. There's so much that you
Yeah.
just said. The first thing is, as you were talking, I realized before I came into the studio, I just wrote the Mother's Day card for my mom. And oh wow, excuse me. I
Okay.
The thing that I realized about her that I wrote in the card is I got to witness her overcome adversity and come out each and every time stronger and smelling like just a rose
Mm-hmm.
and turning it into blessings. And that's a major gift that a breast cancer patient can tap into. And the other thing that came to mind is when Wendy went in for surgery, and I was just about to. I walked her into the bathroom to help her. She was already connected to the IV, and she said to me, "I'm going to be fine. Whatever you do, take care of Dad." And I was hoping Wendy hadn't noticed. But
Yes.
at the other side of Wendy's bed in the other room, her dad had started clutching his chest. And I had a nurse with a wheelchair waiting right outside the room. So as soon as Wendy got taken for surgery, Dad got taken to the emergency room. So I had a
Oh,
patient on floor one and going through surgery, and a heart patient now going through an emergency on floor two or floor one. And the
incredible.
reality is, it's incredible. They kept them overnight in the same recovery ward. But the truth is, you don't know what crisis is going to be like until it presents itself. And when it presents itself, you better be ready to rise to the occasion. So I think it's important for us to get into the five things that the rest of the world can learn from breast cancer survivors,
All right.
and how that can help us be better equipped as we go through crisis or a pandemic. What is the first one that you have?
All right. So there are probably more than five. There's 10 at
Yes.
least. I shortened it for the purposes of this conversation. I try to think of maybe the top five, but let's start at the top. The first thing that we can all learn from breast cancer patients, through this pandemic is patience. It doesn't feel good. It's one of the toughest lessons that you learn because no matter how in control you think you are, you realize that you are not in control and something greater than we are has complete control over everything. And so you really have to shift the focus. One of my favorite quotes is from Wayne Dyer. He says, "When you change the way you look at things, you know this one, the things
Yes.
you
You
look
look
at
at
change."
change.
And so having some element of patience with what is going on around you because you cannot control it is, I think, key to everything. It enables you to get up every day and say, you know what, today I'm going to try again. Today I've got to teach my kids math and I hate math. And you know what, we're just going to figure it out together. And maybe we won't use the Common Core
Right.
math. It's fingers and toes and carry the one. And it's okay. But just having patience with yourself as we're talking about, like flattening this curve. Flattening the curve means it spreads everything out because now it's plateaued. So here we are in this plateau phase where everybody's itching to get outside. We got to have a little bit of patience. So it's a huge thing to learn from breast cancer patients because that is something that they have to learn how to relinquish and just sort of wait for what will be.
Beautiful. And as you're saying that, I just got a message from a bunch of people in the audience. I'm going to read one that just touched me. It said, "Dr. Gary's great, tender, and a caring doctor, and she made me feel secure and loved. Dr. Gary, I love you." And really, that's so beautiful because this is exactly what it is. It is
Oh,
human to
wow.
human connections,
Yeah.
especially during a time of crisis, and
Hmm.
being there to support each other as we go through it. It's it's okay. I love the first one. Give me your second one.
So it's tied right into patience and it's resilience. Right?
Yes.
It's the ability to bounce back, to wake up anew and begin again. Maya Angelou says, I can be changed by what happens to me, but I refuse to be reduced by it.
Beautiful.
And so these are times where we can now see, are we going to help our neighbors? Are we going to help our elders? Are we going to, use this opportunity to sow into ourselves and to kind of master some things if we've got some downtime? Are we going to be kind to our fellow man, or are we going to, cut people off in the parking lot? Like, what are we made of here?
Yeah.
And are we able to begin again and to continually double down on who we are as human beings and the lessons that we're learning and what we're here to do?
Yeah.
So
What
resilience.
what part of you, when I hear resilience and
Hmm.
crisis, I always think, what part of you is going to win this moment?
Yeah.
Is it
Yep.
going to be the part that's destabilized and
Hmm.
chaotic and pushes people's buttons all the
Yep.
time?
Yep.
Or is it the part of you that is loving and faithful and peaceful and supportive?
Yep.
So, I think in then the patience part that you brought
Hmm.
up as
Hmm.
your first tip is so valuable. breast cancer patients have to deal with this on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Our first instinct, I say our, because
Hmm.
I'm like,
You're a
I'm in
breastie.
this group.
That you are a breastie. That's right. You're
That's right.
honorary breastie.
I think patience is the most important thing because as my wife and I are advocating for patients that are going through it right now, the thing we commonly hear is about the frustration of waiting for test results.
Yes.
And in
Yes.
doing so, a breast cancer survivor discovers how to chill out and wait for those things to come and not flip out while you're waiting because it's actually the medical experience is a lot different than the customer service
Oh
experience
yeah.
we're all used to when we expect things quickly. So I mean, those are really important lessons for people during
Hmm.
a time of crisis to start practicing.
Yeah, and these are tough times. Our family members are being diagnosed. We have other health issues that we need to address. Some people are grieving and they're not able to grieve in the traditional ways. And so, how we bounce back from this,
Yeah.
how we're able to rise from this, what we're able to learn from adversity is huge right now. So that's something that breast cancer patients know all too well is how to bounce back.
Yeah. And when I go to like a breast cancer march, I can't think of what they're called, in
Yeah, the walks. Yeah.
walks.
Hmm.
Yes.
I got you.
Thank you. When I go to like a walk, what I'm really seeing on the faces of the people and the patients and the families is I'm seeing people proud of their transformation that they
Yeah.
have gone through.
Yeah.
That's what I see. Like not only did I come out the other side and I'm still alive, but look at how much growth and maturation happened in the
Mhm,
middle of this crisis. That's an
mhm.
important element too. Give me your third one.
All right, number three is a fun one. It's something that breast cancer patients are acutely aware of while everybody's practicing social distancing and hand hygiene, and it's wash your freaking hands. Wash your hands and encourage everyone around you to do the same
Yeah.
thing. 95% of people claim to have good hand hygiene. Only 67% of people actually do practice it, meaning they wash more than the palms of their hands for more than 6 seconds. On average, you come into contact with about 300 surfaces every 30 minutes.
Wow.
300 surfaces every 30 minutes, and they expose about 850,000 germs, right? And 80% of everything is communicable by touch. So breast cancer patients, especially those who are going through chemotherapy and their treatment, they have a level of being immunocompromised, meaning their
Yeah.
immune systems are a little bit weaker. And so they're advised, they're already wearing masks, they're already washing their hands, they're vigilant about these things because they don't want to make their situation any worse. They don't want to get infected with anything. And now here we are, the rest of the world's wearing masks and freaking out about it and washing hands and not happy about it. And this is something that breast cancer patients are saying, I wish my cancer would go away if all I had to do was wash my hands for 20 seconds, right? But,
Right.
I mean, come on. And so it's a really basic thing, but it's a good thing to carry forward because, when we get out of this, we got to learn to practice good hand hygiene. Our credit cards have, material on them. Like, I'm not even going to give you the numbers. It's disgusting. Elevator
Yeah.
buttons, 22%. Elevator buttons harbor more bacteria than toilet seats. Elevator buttons in
No
the
doubt.
hospital,
I
right, in
don't
the
touch them.
building.
I
Mhm.
knuckle them.
I
Uh,
do too. I do too. But wash your hands, and that's
yes.
that's a huge one that we can all learn from breast cancer
Hey,
patients.
Dr. Gary, do you have any sense of culturally how the handshake ritual is going to is this going to fade away? Are we going to be fist bumpers or elbow bumpers going forward? What are your thoughts?
I'm a little leery of the elbow bumping. I think somebody's going to lose an eye. um,
Yes.
we're not the
You're
most
also getting
sports.
really close.
It's true. I'm a huge fan of the fist. I'm a huge fan of the fist bump. It's something that I do it with children a lot. It resonates, and you can, do fun things, sound effects. So I think we're going to see a lot more fist bumping. I don't know if we're going to see some Vulcan hand things going on here, where we're like this, or maybe a little Wakanda action. I don't
Yeah.
know. But that'd be a pretty cool greeting. Everybody walking
Right.
around doing this.
Like, I
But
mean,
I
if we,
think it will change the way we interact with each other. Yeah.
you and I are huggers.
Hmm.
So it's interesting because that is a part of both of us that we don't ever want to give up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I actually came into the off. I'm in the office. I've been
Hmm.
joking that I'm quarantined here, but it's only like 5 minutes from my house, and I can do a lot more work. And I'm here by myself. Somebody else came in. and they're back there in one of their own offices.
Mm-hmm.
But Arizona doesn't have the same level of coronavirus exposure as, like,
Right.
let's say, the East Coast.
Mm-hmm.
So we're a little bit more laxed in the rules right now, and but I actually saw somebody, and it happened quickly yesterday. And the next thing I knew, we hugged. We were so excited to see each other that
Mm-hmm.
we hugged, and then in the middle of the hug, we were like, "Ah, like, get
Right. What did
away!"
we just
Right,
do? What did we just do?
right.
Yeah. Let
All
me
right,
tell you
so
something. When
we've
I
got
get through this,
yeah,
when I get out of this, I'm leaning into the camera. I'm hugging. I'm hugging everybody. I'm hugging you. I'm hugging you who's watching. Prepare to be hugged
prepare,
because
right.
I miss it. We can hug hands free. We can do a little, chest bump, whatever. We hug from behind. But people on the street are going to be getting some serious hug action going on here because I
Yes,
need
because
it
it
and it's
is
therapeutic. There are
going down
endorphins.
for real when it
Hmm.
happens.
There's
All right,
major endorphins that come from human touch. And I don't want to see us lose that. That's a huge part of the human experience
it is.
and the ability of our immune systems to boost and our bodies to release, neurotransmitters that make us feel better through human touch. So we got to get back to that for sure.
Absolutely. All right, let me see if
Hmm.
I can do this off the top of my head.
All right.
Patience,
Yep.
resiliency or
Hmm.
perseverance.
Yep.
And then the last one is wash your freaking hands, people. That's the third. What's the
Hmm.
fourth one?
Fourth one, pandemonium is the opportunity to create
Yes.
clarity in your life.
Yes.
It is.
Why?
There's
Why is that?
no time like the present because everything else becomes crystal clear. When you get a diagnosis of breast cancer, the entire world stops. The carousel stops, the music stops playing, the record scratches, and it is an opportunity for you to now shift everything in your life, put it all in order, prioritizing yourself first, ridding yourself of things that are toxic. Now we can talk about smoking. Now we can talk about our diet. Now we can get rid of those, those people and that job and those other things that are causing us stress that's unnecessary and that has absolutely no bearing on the things that are most important in life. Like
Yes.
what's really important to you? Is it your TV programs? Is it going to the movie theater? Or is it spending time with your family? Right? Like this is a great time for it.
Yeah, this is beautiful. I'm a go 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 kind of guy.
Hmm.
I probably don't ever stop, but that's where
Guilty.
I know you're similar, and but I like to be in the rhythm of things. And then as soon as the quarantine started and we were all in our homes, I looked at my wife at some point and I go, this level of quiet or simplicity or
Yeah.
calm
Yeah.
is something I really haven't felt in maybe my whole life,
Mhm.
and that's something that I can learn from this crisis. Crisis breeds opportunities, and
Yes.
in each and every time in our lives where we've been hit with a crisis, it doesn't matter if it's a physical health crisis and
Hmm.
a relationship one, a business one. Lord knows I've had plenty in the 10 years of owning my own business.
Right.
But
Right.
each and every time I've optimized something in my life to
Yeah.
make sure that I could go to the next level. I think you're asking patients to do that too, and also people in the general public as we're going through a pandemic.
It's true. And many times they too are in waiting scenarios where they may be on their family medical leave. They can't go back to work yet and they're sitting and they're used to being go-getters. They're academics. They are leaders in industry and healthcare and everything else. And now all of a sudden you're sitting and waiting for yourself to heal. It's like, well, what does that look like? Is it like watching grass grow? Like what am I supposed to do during this time? And here
Right.
we all are, right? There's no soccer practice. There's no ballet lessons. There's no all the things that kept us busy and kept us occupied and kept us from connecting have all been removed. So there's an opportunity there. We're going to complain about the kids being home, or we're going to say, hey, you know what? I always wanted to show you how, grandma's recipe for
Right.
such and such, or let's learn some woodworking, or let's learn how to balance a checkbook. I bet you don't teach you that in school,
No.
right? We always wanted to garden. Guess what? It's a great time for it. And all of a sudden there's time and there's an opportunity if we can look at it that way. And it is a privilege for some people because we know folks have got to get back to their lives, but it's a great chance to reinvent yourself. Pandemonium creates opportunity.
I love it. I
Hmm.
love it. I look. We just got a a comment from somebody whose family was cared for by you. So let's do this because the reason I bring this up is I want people to think about who they want to be in crisis. Do you want to be a stable, loving force that leads people? Like, is that how you think of yourself?
Hmm.
Because you have that time. to choose. Now is the time to choose and to keep yourself committed to that goal.
Yeah.
This gentleman named Sammy said, as a family, we received the support we needed in a time of crisis, just like this, for a professional or from a professional and caring Dr. Monique Gary. And one
Oh my
important
goodness.
thing is a clear explanation of what we're facing. Clarity is important. I ad libbed
Mm-hmm.
that part. Thanks a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks a lot. I will always remember the way you hug my wife and make her feel special. Now,
Love it.
each and every one of us has that opportunity when we're going through crisis to slow roll our crazy thoughts and make somebody else feel special and valued and appreciated. And Dr. Gary, when you're going through your day, I know from my friends who are physicians, you go from patient room to patient room to patient room, and you're confronted with that type of unstable crisis regularly. What
Mm-hmm.
do you say to yourself in those moments about being the loving leader? How do you get yourself there?
I stay vulnerable. It seems counterintuitive, but it really is about vulnerability because each person behind that door is somebody's family member, somebody's mom, it's somebody's daughter, it's someone's, spouse or partner. And the connection, I think, really comes from being in a place that says, you know what, I understand what you're going through, not that you're just the next person on my list behind door number 4. It's taking the time to really draw pictures, to explain, to ask questions, and to get feedback. I always start with, what do you understand about what's going on? And then by the time we finish, okay, now what will you tell someone else when you leave here? And if you don't get it and you don't got it, then we got to start over. We have to backtrack to the point where you lost it, because it does you no good to go see a great doctor and say, "Oh, she was wonderful," and somebody says, "What'd she say?" I have no idea,
Yeah,
right? And
right.
and so there's this element of me and myself, and I always share my story with patients. My mom died of ovarian cancer at 29 years old. We talk about Mother's Day coming up. Mother's Day for me is a chance to celebrate the women and the mothers in my life who have been able to sort of pick up the mantle, but also to double down on my commitment to mothers everywhere. It's a good time to say, you know what, thanks, and to tap into that resiliency.
Yeah.
And I share that with patients. My grandmother had breast cancer twice. So I know what these patients are going through when they're sitting in that seat. And there's a saying that says, nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yeah.
And that's the place that I operate from. And so as soon as we can get right there, everything else starts in there. The beautiful relationship that we can have, no matter the outcome. It's really about the journey. And I'm just sort of an usher. I'm a guide on this journey. It's your journey, but I'm going to help guide you through it.
Beautiful. Earlier, you referenced Maya Angelou,
Hmm.
and I think she says just about everything perfect. So here, watch me botch it,
Yeah,
because I could never do it in the rhythm and the finesse that she explains her quotes. But people won't remember what you say, but they'll remember how you make them feel. And
absolutely.
especially in a time
Absolutely.
of crisis, how
Hmm.
you make people feel
Yeah.
is going to be what they remember. So use your words
Sure.
wisely, and that's just so cool. All right.
And
So
it's what they emulate. Think about your kids right now. Our
right.
families, they're home, they're watching us. They're watching how we respond. Are we angry, or are we, doubling down on our compassion and our commitment to treat people fairly, right? People are watching, and that's what carries forward also. So, the things I share with my patients, I hear them saying to other survivors in the waiting room and in the support groups. It sticks with you and it goes beyond us. It has a ripple effect.
Yeah, it's there's a major hospital in the U.S. that I've serviced over the years, and they're saying is the mother standard of care. Everybody that comes in here gets treated as if you
Hmm.
are the mother, the sister, the brother, and
Yep.
you're going to do it with that same loving kindness. Give me your fifth one. I know we're pushed up against time, and you've got a big day ahead of you
This
caring for
one's tied
patients.
into everything. The fifth one is compassion. Because with all of the lessons we should be learning and all the things we should be doing, guess what? We fall short. We're tired. We've got stress and we've got anxiety and we have a lot of things, and it's okay. We got to learn to be compassionate first with ourselves. When we hold ourselves to this really untenable level, it creates a discord between who we are and where we are and who we want to be. And it creates space between us and the greater divine that's in us. And
Yes.
so we have to be compassionate with our kids, with ourselves, with each other, and self care. I tell patients it's not a destination on the highway of life. Self care is the gas that you put in the automobile that's driven by your soul on the highway of life. And if you don't put gas in that automobile, you're going to be broken down on the side of the road. That's the self-care and that's the compassion. And it takes many, many forms. So all the level of woulda, shouldas, and I should be doing these things. I thought I'd learn French and Spanish. I'd brush up on my Spanish, and I thought I'd, kind of become a piano maestro again during the pandemic. Did I do any of those things? Not so much,
Yeah. Yeah.
but compassion with ourselves and with each other is something that breast cancer patients know more than anyone, because they want to get up and do things and they fall short and they don't feel comfortable and they have lots of issues that preclude them from being what they think is the best version of themselves, right? But that's where that resilience comes in. So compassion with each other, compassion with ourselves.
Beautiful. Very well said. I'm going to quickly summarize. I'm going to forget one or two. You're going to
Okay.
support me and be compassionate while I do it off the top of my head. Resiliency. There's perseverance brings crisis. Be compassionate. Help me out.
We
I
got
got to
patience. We got
patience.
patience, resilience. Wash your freaking
Wash your
hands.
freaking hands. Right?
Pandemonium creates opportunity.
Yes.
Yep. And compassion. Those are the top
Beautiful.
five that I could think of.
Well, she's Dr. Monique Gary. She's a breast surgeon at Grandview Health in Sellersville, Pennsylvania. And those are the five things the rest of the world can learn from breast cancer patients right now during a crisis. Dr. Gary, thank you so much for joining us, and best of luck with your patients that you still have two more surgeries to provide today for.
Thank you for having me. It's so good to see you. Give my love to Wendy. Breast cancer patients out there, you have strength, you have wisdom, you have everything you need. Lead the way, because the rest of the world is watching and following you. And so I just encourage everybody who's watching, we will get through this. I promise you. We're coming out with hugs on the other side.
Beautiful. Absolutely love it. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for this very special broadcast tomorrow. Oh, tomorrow's going to be a whole lot of fun. I've got joining me is going to be Dr. Beth Dupree, and we're going to be talking about PTSD and the mental, psychological, and emotional toll that breast cancer patients have in the midst of a diagnosis. And I actually, by the way, you should know that's actually Friday. Tomorrow, I have. By the way, my schedule's all screwy right now.
It's
Tomorrow, I've got
Thursday.
the
It's Thursday. It's okay.
Yes, it's Thursday. Tomorrow I've got the president of the I've got the chairman of the president's cancer panel coming right here to talk about some really interesting topics. Wait for it. It'll happen live. Dr. Gary, thank you so much for joining me on this very
Todd,
special broadcast.
thank you so much for having me. Take good care.
Take care.
Bye.